Good day. This is SmallBizDavid. You haven't seen me around for a while, and actually, this is the first YouTube HOA that I've done in probably 6 or 7 months, Barbara. It's been that long, and the technology has definitely changed from the last time I did it. And you know better than anybody how I've been struggling with putting all of that together to make things happen today. But you know what? My challenges as a small business owner and what I do for a living aren't any different than other small business owners and what they need to do to make their businesses run. And I am very happy and pleased and honored to have today probably my oldest live streaming friend. When I say oldest, I don't mean necessarily an age. in length of service. Barbara and I did our first live streaming event in another technology, probably in 2008. And I had just started reading Barbara's daily email, which is the first thing I read any day when I get to my computer. And I think it's coming at 4 o'clock in the morning now on my computer, whenever, and I read it. And so I said, I really need to meet this person because she gets my day started with business ideas. And did a little bit of research on Barbara, and Barbara has been called America's #1 small business tax expert. And I guess the reason for that, Barbara, is because is this the 16th or 17th year that you have done this? Oh my goodness. Well, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for not giving you enough credit. I won't ask you how old you were when you started writing, but it is. And let me tell a little story about the book and how you motivated me one year. It was probably about 5 years ago, and the objective of our hangout, our live streaming, was going to be to talk about the book. And you had said something in your daily email, or of course, what's the first thing I read on the first day of every month, Barbara? I read your newsletter. That it's been wonderful to see. It gets better and better all the time. I mean, you've made some changes over the years, and it's just. There's so much information, and that's what you are all about, is providing good business information. And I think nothing gets harder to a small business owner, a small business person, than taxes. So about 5 years ago, we were talking, and I said, I'm going to do this year, Barbara, just by talking to you and reading the book and getting ideas and some of the things you've thrown out. I am going to buy some software, and for the first time ever, I'm going to do a first draft of my own business taxes. I had never done it before. I just like most people probably just give it over to their CPA or their accountant and say, do it, do a return for me. But I said, you know what? I want to learn more about what is really going on with my business. And so I went through the return. I used your book as a reference book. And when I came to some keywords on the return, I went to the index, and I found out where you were explaining and giving some hints. So I actually produced my own tax return. Didn't submit it. I wasn't that confident yet. And in that year, I gave it to my CPA, and all he then did was audited my return, and then I don't know if he made 1 or 2 changes along the way, and he only charged me for that time. He didn't charge me, you know. I saved myself probably about 65% of my bill with my account because I took that. So thank you for that, Barbara. But the other thing I'd like to talk about, and you've heard me say it many, many times, I think I paid less for this book this year, Barbara, than I've ever paid for it. That's kind of strange. I don't know. Well, it was under $20. Yes. So I like to say this every year. It's the best $20 investment I make in my business because all I need to do is open one page and get one good idea that Barbara has shared with us, and it's paid for itself in the first 10 minutes that I get it. So let's talk a little bit about the book this year. You told me you added 2 chapters this year that you didn't have. And I read in your books a very strong point that you make. The purpose of the book is not to make a tax professional out of me, out of the small business owner who is reading the book. The book is there for information, and maybe you want to challenge. I mean, a good CPA is going to know, I hope, is going to know. Earlier this week, as I was thinking about our discussion today, Barbara, I came up with a question, and I want to ask. I don't know that I've ever really asked you this question before, but why does the IRS, when we are taking a mileage deduction for use of our car, why does that number change every year? Sometimes up, sometimes it goes down. But you know what the formula is. Yes, that was first. And sure, it just gives them justification to go up or down based upon the price of gas. I guess long term, we're willing to take less of a deduction if the cost of gas is cheaper. I think. Although I noticed just in the last week a little spike in gas prices in Ohio. And who knows what's going to happen when our new president takes office in a couple weeks. Yes, wow. I think about that every time I don't drive a car anymore. I'm a bus person now, and on my way to a spot that I go to every day, there's a small business owner, and I've watched his business grow. It's a janitorial cleaning service, and he's got 20 vehicles in a parking lot, and he's got to keep those vehicles filled with gas, and so he can go out and do his various contract jobs. So let's I want to just go down real quickly and go through the parts of the book, and each time I talk about a part, if you could give me the highlights of that chapter, then we'll go back, and if you would maybe give, and I ask you to do this every year, and I don't give you time to prepare for it, but 3 to 5 of the most important things or changes or something that we need to be thinking about, because right now, aren't we starting to think about doing our taxes for last year? So we'll go through that exercise. Part 1 of the book is about organization, and I think your comment there was basically that from a small business perspective, it's information that is helpful to all of us. And isn't that a part of the agenda of our new president to be? Okay, part 2 of your book is well, pretty standard from year to year, but there's probably I'm sure there's new laws that factor in, but business income and losses. We have to understand. Your choice of 2 businesses were fantastic, because they are 2 of the most dynamic business models, small business models. I have seen, obviously, making great play of people being connected to the internet and using technology. Those 2 companies use technology as well as, if not better than anybody, except maybe Amazon.com. Have you gotten your first drone delivery of something yet? You know, one of these years. I was gonna. I was gonna say. Of all these years that we've been talking about this book, you have never sent me an autographed copy of the book. I want an autographed copy of 2018, and maybe it'll be time you could drone it to me. Okay, part 3, business deductions and credits, probably pretty much the same as incomes and losses. You know, you made me think about something, and we talked about it one year, that, and it's probably happening more and more often now with so many baby boomers who need some additional revenue stream to their lives, and so they take their passion in their life, and quite often it's a hobby. And then you made the point very strongly a couple of years ago that the IRS, when they're evaluating a business, they say, is that a business or is that a hobby? And right. Oh, they love it. They want more money. You're right. It's if you've got losses, and maybe it's not a fully. I don't want to use the word legitimate because it's not going to be illegitimate, but you know, it's you got to report. You got to report what the facts are. Okay, and then part 4. Um, and you've added some chapters to part 4, tax planning for your small business. I mean, that's what really the meat of things. How long have you? Well, when will you start working on 2018's book? Okay, well, as you probably guessed, we were going to talk about something today because we talk about it every time that we have the opportunity, and that's the Affordable Care Act, and you know Well, what impact has it had on small business? Number one would be the first part of the question. Second part of the question would be with a new party in political power, have stated very clearly that they want to dismantle it, whatever that means. It may be more difficult to dismantle the program than they think, just because of some things are in place. We know that the Affordable Care Act has positively affected a lot of folks, and you don't want to necessarily take that away from them unless you have something that will replace it. So, and I know and I've been talking about it for as long as, well, 4 or 5 years now, 3 years, 4 years. And another important thing that a lot of folks never realized was that a health savings account can go to your heirs, and as long as it is used for the same qualified medical purposes, it remains tax-free. Well, well, maybe I don't know, because I guess at the time I was considering it. I didn't have a spouse, but I had heirs. So, boy. Well, anyway, I just heard for the first time in many years, and perhaps you can give us an update on flexible savings accounts. I hadn't heard that expression used for, what, 5 years, and all of a sudden last week or a couple of weeks ago. It was a great thing. I don't think I've ever actually. I did live under an FSA for a certain period of my life before I did an HSA. Now with Medicare and now a Medicare Advantage plan that I have, and I suppose there are a lot of baby boomers, solopreneurs like myself who are confronted with the same challenges that I see. I got to say, I was really happy with a Medicare Advantage plan that I purchased. Well, I didn't even purchase it. It was just a transfer of funds to the carrier, and because I took an HMO, and it worked out perfectly for me because I wanted all my doctors to be in an HMO group that already existed. It didn't cost me anything new, and it's amazing. I had a surgery October 25th, and the surgery cost about $115,000. My out-of-pocket expense was $376. Yay! Well, I have a good broker. I have a good broker, a good professional that I have dealt with, and he said, David, with just understanding your particular needs and where you are in life, I recommend this plan, and it's worked. It's funny you mention that. It's funny you mention that. Just today, in I teach a senior exercise class 5 days a week, and just today I was reading to them the AARP official statement about Medicare and what potentially could happen, and there was the differentiation between somebody who has Medicare now and somebody who may be getting it in 5 years. I mean, there's a that's a big area right there. I think we can all agree that Medicare in and of itself is going to change. The Medicare that I live with is going to be certainly different than the Medicare that my sons live with, if in fact Medicare is around in those times. I'm more concerned, Barbara. I just read some data this week that says in 2030, the Social Security is going to be out of cash, and my monthly benefits are going to go down 30%. Now, can that happen? Okay, I guess I've got a final question for you here, and as we've all been watching the people who have been nominated or actual appointments in the new presidential administration. Let me step back for a moment before I get to what I was going to say. What do you think? We now have a businessman, a non-politician who's going to be running the country. What are you excited about that? Are you? I can't believe you said that, because that was going to be my final question to you. She, it's funny you, because that was going to be my last question. What did you think about the new SBA? Now, does she have to go through an approval? Well, when Linda and Vince started the World Wrestling Federation, wasn't called that at that time. Uh, they had 18 employees when they. I'm glad you said that, because I was going to say it. My understanding has always been that she's been the brains behind the organization, and well, I'm equally excited about that one, and I'll be watching that one very, very closely. And of course, um, over the well, you have connections. I mean, you've been asked by the SBA to testify or stuff, or haven't you done some things in Washington with them? then how can Linda McMahon say no to you then? Well, Barbara, once again, I'm sorry that this conversation that you and I usually have is in November, but I was in no shape to do this conversation. I am, and I have some very well defined business objectives, and I haven't done that really for. I mean, they've been real loose for the past couple years, but I've got some well defined ones, and I'm going to do something I've never done in my 45 plus years as an entrepreneur. I've got a business idea. It's testing out very well the concept, not how I'm executing. I'm learning more and more about the execution, but my business objective is to build a business that I can sell, and I've never done that before. We just kind of do our thing, and it goes where it goes. But so I'll be constantly, keen on cash flow, and will somebody pay for that cash flow, and this, that, and the other. But I'm really, and it has to do with healthcare, and the fact that we are in such a transition right now with where healthcare is going to be going, where it's come and where it's going. I think makes my business idea concept even stronger. So I'm really excited about that. Barbara, once again, thank you so much for being Barbara, for being so generous and sharing your time. And I suppose that both of those ventures are growing on a daily, monthly, weekly basis. Good. Well, you know that I'm always promoting them and talking about them because you've had a really positive impact on my small business thinking, and I want to thank you for that. And looking forward to having our 2000 small business taxes 2018 discussion in November of this year. Last 2 Novembers, I've been recovering from surgeries in the last 2 years in November, so hopefully we'll be able to work through that this year. And thank you again, and lots. And to our folks that are watching this on YouTube, please let me know what you think about this discussion. If you have a particular question that you have of Barbara, we can create a new stream just to deal with those questions. She'd be more than happy to answer them. And most, go out and buy this book. Or you don't even have to go out anymore. Order it on Amazon.com. I promise you, I guarantee you that it will be the best $20 investment that you make in your small business. Because, well, let's end our discussion. I'm just going to open up the book like I love to do, and I'm going to read on that page something or mention something on that page, and then you tell me. I want the author to really get into it. Okay, I'm on page 291. I want to have a page where you've got a case study. I love your case studies and your example. 285, taxes and interest, deductible taxes. An S corporation on a calendar year using the cash basis method pays the state franchise fee for 2016 in March in 2017. You are so good at reminding people in your daily email, and for no other reason, read your email, of what taxes are due. Make sure you get them in, because Barbara doesn't want to see you paying a penalty, correct? The payment is deductible on the S Corporation's 2017 income tax return, not in its 2016 return. Thank you for that great information. Barbara, have a great year, and look forward to Well, reading and maybe. Oh, I do want to mention one last thing before we go. In 2015, and I'm talking more to the audience. You know about this. In 2015, I did a video book. It had about 30 chapters in it. I handpicked 4 people, one on strategy, one on marketing, marketing and sales, two guys in technology, and one individual on small business money matters. And chapter 4 of my video book was an HOA that I did with you back in 2015. So we'll post that out there again and get it going, because many of the things. Well, if they want updates to what we're talking about here's how they get the updates, right? Barbara Weltman, thank you, and have a great year, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Okay, yeah, we are